Hi everyone! I just wanted to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Sydney Lucas and I am the counselor and supervisor and owner of Well Counseling and Consulting. We are physically located here in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, but I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Pennsylvania and a licensed professional counselor and supervisor in the state of Texas. So I can actually provide virtual services still in Texas, as well as the whole state of Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me and kind of my therapy style, just so you could get to know me a little bit better. Let's see, where to start. So I'm a wife and a mom. I have two, I say little girls. They don't think they're little girls anymore. And we live here in the area. And let's see, I'm from Texas originally. That's why I have a Texas license. I grew up in the Arlington area, but I've lived all over the state of Texas. I went to college and have a BS in psychology from Texas A&M. You can probably see it back there in the background. That's my undergrad diploma. And then I went on to get a master's in biblical counseling from Dallas Theological Seminary. And then that is when I started my career in counseling. I started out working in psychiatric hospitals. So I got to see people at their absolute worst, but it was great because by the time they got out, they were doing significantly better. So that was really neat to be able to be a part of that. So I got fully licensed in Texas in 2003, I think. And I became a supervisor in 2006. I also went back to school and got my MBA from Dallas Baptist, and that's mostly because I was working in a mental health clinic. In Texas, we call them MHMR. In Pennsylvania, I think it's community mental health. But I was working in a clinic and I was in charge of their budget, and I was 29 and I didn't have my own budget. And so I thought maybe I should get some help with this because I don't know what I'm doing. So that's what made me decide to go back to school and get my MBA. Like I said, I've lived all over Texas. We moved from Pennsylvania from Houston, moved to Pennsylvania from Houston. We lived there for 7 years. My husband is originally from Houston. My daughters are actually 7th generation Texan, which is a big deal to Texans, but we kind of think it's cool. As far as my therapy style goes, I think because I cut my teeth in psychiatric hospitals, I tend to want to help people see results faster. So I did do a lot of solution-focused brief therapy initially, but along the way I fell in love with cognitive behavioral therapy, which very simplistically said is the idea that we have a core belief called a schema, and that is what feeds our thoughts, feelings, and then behaviors, but that we'll have some kind of event or trigger, and that will stimulate the core belief with an automatic thought. And that if you want to change your behavior or change your feelings or change your thoughts, you really have to dig into what is the core belief. So that's a very simple way. But there's also a lot of techniques that I like in CBT. And so I do tend to kind of use that a lot with depression and anxiety. I've seen a lot of results with employing some of those techniques. I see adults and older teens. I don't see children, and I think mostly that's because my very first job in the psychiatric hospital, like full-time job, getting paid job, was with little bitty kids, 5 to 11 years old in the hospital, and it just broke my heart. It was really hard. The parents were a big part of the problem, but they were identifying the kid as the problem, and they weren't willing to listen or to get help. And so that really made an impact on me, and I decided to work with the adults that did want to get help. And so that's how that happened. And then somewhere along the way, I guess just because when someone's in crisis, it affects the relationships, I started doing premarital and marriage counseling as well. As far as that goes, I am a trained 7 principles leader for the Gottmans. So I do like the Gottman Method. And first few sessions might be in couples, like let's meet together and then meet individually with the husband and wife and then come back together and talk about like what are the core issues and what a good plan of attack would be. So that's how I tend to start out my couples counseling. But I'm also a Christian therapist. So you might have heard I went to Dallas Theological Seminary. So I have very specialized training in incorporating the Bible and scripture and theology into counseling. So I do consider that a specialty as well. I only do it if people are comfortable with it. If they're not, then that's okay. We can stick to not including those specific aspects into the counseling room. But I also think that we are very simplistically described as mind, body, and spirit, and that we are all of those things all the time and we can't separate it out. And what I mean by that is what I do physically to my body will also affect me mentally and spiritually. And same goes with any other aspect. What I do spiritually will affect me mentally and physically, and what I do mentally affects me spiritually and physically. So if you are not comfortable with Christian counseling, I do ask, what do you believe in spiritually in whatever realm? Because I think you have to identify that as part of the process of if you're working on how to get whole and how to improve in certain areas of your life, because my bias is that it's all connected, then we have to explore that. So I'm completely comfortable doing that with whatever someone's belief is. But it is good for the people on the couch to know what my bias is and that is my belief system. So anyways, I just wanted to hop on and do a quick introduction. There's lots of places to find me. I don't know where you're watching this, but I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. It's at Well Counseling 2020, or just Well Counseling and Consulting, PLLC. On Instagram, we're also Well Counseling. I have a YouTube channel that is an asterisk sign and then not your typical therapist. The reason that is my tagline is because I've had so many people tell me, oh, you're not like any other therapist I've ever been to. And I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but what I think they mean by that, what I've been told more often, is that I don't just like sit back and, do this number. I don't just parrot back what they're saying. I have very rarely ever said, like they say on TV, and how did that make you feel? And so I don't know. Everyone tells me I'm warm and personable in the counseling room. My husband might not tell you that, but and I think that's because I really do try and focus on normalization and validation as well. I think it's important to know that you're not alone. And so I do a lot of that. I also do a little bit more self-disclosure than probably I was trained in school, when it's appropriate and when it's going to be helpful, hopefully, to the client. Just anecdotal stories of times to show them that they're not alone. So anyways, that is my tagline. So that's on YouTube. Where else can you find? I have a website, which is www.well-counseling.com. And you can see, I have the YouTube channel to push over to the website, so you can see those as blog posts. And I think that's it for now. I'm not a huge Twitter fan, so I'm not on Twitter. I feel way too old for Snapchat. I don't really get it. I don't know why people don't just text each other. Why Snap? But maybe it's because it disappears. I'm not sure, which seems a little shady, but that's me being old. All right, you guys, if y'all have any questions, please reach out. I am on Psychology Today. I am on Therapy Den. So if you have any questions, let me know. I would love to talk to you if you're interested in services, what that would look like, who's a good candidate for virtual counseling. We can talk about all of that. So, all right, I hope to meet you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.